And what a lovely morning. Good morning.
Good morning. We've talked the whole night through.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning to you. You're listening to Power Talks with Beth Ann and Melody Cedarstrom in the morning, where talk is real, truth is in the talk, and there is power in truth. And we say good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning to you, Melody.
Well, good morning to you and to the listeners. It's a great day.
Welcome
it's
back
December
home.
12th. Yes. It's always good to be home, and always good to be home. The closer you get, the more excited you become, and I missed it. I missed my routine, so thank you.
Yeah, we kind of get stuck in a routine sometimes, and I like my routine too. But you had a good time, so that's a good thing.
Yes. Well, today is Judgment Day down in Alabama. We're going to get started right away today, and it just really is. I mean, I've listened to some of the news programs, but I was in the office working early this morning, and it truly is amazing. I was watching this one program that wasn't Fox, and they were talking about Moore, and they actually said about how he, they were listing off his, being kicked out and doing this and, doing all that. And they actually included stealing from a charity fund. Like, I hadn't heard that one before. And so I went and did a little bit of investigation, and it was just, there, and of course, like anything else, there was, questions as far as how he was getting paid. That was a lot of money, through a charity and so forth. But it was all legal. It wasn't that he was stealing. I mean, it wasn't anything that, those that, are involved in that type of situation and the big bucks and so forth,
he wasn't charging $400,000 to speak at a college?
No. But I mean, it was just, they just slid that in. Oh, and accused of stealing from a charity. It's like, I didn't even see where he was accused. I didn't see where there was any charges. I didn't see where, but they just slid that in just so easy, just to, so it's not a really fake news, but it really isn't and they didn't bother to explain. And that was the first time I heard that. Have you heard of that before?
I have not heard about that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's been all over about the fake news doing exactly that. Mm-hmm. Doing exactly those kind of things where they just throw something out there and then later on they'll write a retraction. They won't maybe necessarily say a retraction, or it'll be at the end so nobody really hears it.
And you're absolutely correct. And I do think sometimes, a little bit of, news is probably released in order, knowing that the other side is going to pick it up and run with it, and it makes fools out of them and so forth. But in the meantime, it does a lot of destruction to the credibility, and of course, it can be very devastating for a person and so forth. So
they don't seem to care about the credibility.
They don't seem to care, no.
CNN and ABC and MSNBC, well, even Fox, they mess up sometimes. I do hear them retract, but they mess up too. I mean, everybody messes up. But it seems
you
like
get somebody excited and they don't bother vetting vetting it.
You can't tell me they didn't know they were sliding that in incognito, and they knew it wasn't true. They were just throwing it. Oh my gosh, he stole from a charity.
I mean, I paid attention. I thought, wow, I never heard that one before. And I wasn't even paying that much attention to the program. But, I heard them talking about, Moore, and, they were listing all the negative things against him, and then they threw that one in at the end, and it was just like, what?
Well, I had an article here, too, that, we're supposed to trust the media, and this was just so bizarre. It says, CNN, East Coast elitists, people should trust the liberal media because of its endless mistakes. Because they're just trying so hard, we should trust them. The liberal media trust us because we it says something here, and we lie. Dave Form, the Atlantic senior editor, went on CNN this morning this was a couple of days ago on the 10th, to argue that Americans should trust the media because they are wrong so often. It just means they're trying to get it right.
Good grief.
Where's the logic in that? Well, we're trying.
Well, you know what? I hate
we're getting
to say
it first. We're getting it first.
I hate to say it, but there is some. I don't know if it's logic, but I see it all the time in the gold business. I see some of these newsletter writers. I see some of these so-called analysts, and the more times they're wrong, the greater their credibility. Their credibility grows, and I can never figure that out. You know, they might be right once or twice, not even once, maybe once. I'm not even going to say twice. At the same time, where everybody else is right, also, and they can have a list of wrongs, but it makes them more credible. So, go figure. I don't get it. Mistakes are precisely the reason that people should trust the media. It's the process of bringing the truth to light. Bringing all the fake news is the process of bringing the truth to light. Well, I'm not sure that that's true, but anyway. It's a crazy world. It's a crazy world, and we're watching. And, of course, then I can't remember exactly. I've got it here somewhere, where Trump went after him because of the fake news that they had presented, and now they consider him a bully. He bullied this one guy because he called him out. You know, you call him out. Hey, this is wrong. And maybe the one that put up the picture. They put up the picture of the rally on Friday night before the crowd was there. In fact, most of them hadn't been let in the door. They put out, and they did that on purpose. Because they made the comment, empty seats, he barely has anybody here. And the guy knew it was wrong. He knew it was wrong. So when he puts that out on Twitter and everywhere else, Trump calls him out on it. And then and I don't know what all Trump said. I don't have the tweet in front of me. But the guys, they're claiming he was bullying the journalist. I don't think people know what bullying really is, but calling somebody out to make them tell the truth, that's not being a bully. And I can see where, I'm kind of, and I know you are too. I just want to hear the truth. I don't want to hear all this junk. Just tell the truth. It's not even just tell the truth. It's like, why bother reporting on something that's so mindless, so meaningless? Why don't you report on real stuff? Why don't you report real news and be truthful about it?
They went.
If they believe that the mental status of this country, that they're not any smarter than to report on how many people are sitting in an audience and so forth, it's just like, what?
Or the president
I'm out of high school. Grow up.
Or the president had 2 scoops of ice cream. Everyone else had 1, Melody, and he had 2 scoops of ice cream. They made a big deal out of that.
It's just like, good grief.
Like, seriously. So who's the bully? Who's the...
It's just silly. It's childish, and bullying is a severe, very, certainly not...
True bullying. True
bullying, yes.
But it's become, and I did want to talk about that a little bit, but it's become the new racist. Everything, if you do anything or say anything, you're a bully. And that's not true. There are bullies in the world, and they need to be dealt with. And that is the problem in the school system. They don't know how to deal with children. Now, you're not going to legislate bullies away. You're not going to video bullies away. That's just not going to happen. You have to teach your children how to deal with a bully. First, you teach them not to be the bully. And then you teach them how to deal with the bully. And they're not doing that. And teachers need to know how to deal with the bully. And if there's a no tolerance in the school, I've seen them where they send kids home because they didn't like the T-shirt they had on, if it had an NRA T-shirt or something. But this bully, I've got the story here somewhere. The mother took a video of her little boy, and he was being bullied. He wanted her to pick him up before lunch, because at lunchtime, that's when these bullies pick on him. They make fun of his nose and do other things and even pour milk on his head. Where's the administration? Where's the teacher when this is going on? That is something that can be seen. That is something that can be dealt with. They lock the parents out of the schools these days. You have to get permission to get in there. So they're in charge of those kids. And if there's a bully picking on your boy that he's that distraught, you need to go to that school, and the administration and those teachers need to be dealt with. And that bully, 3 strikes, you're out. His parents need to be told, this kid needs to stop acting up, and if he doesn't, we're kicking him out of school. Something needs to be done. You know, they don't want you to paddle him anymore. You can't spank a kid anymore. But something needs to be done with a bully such as that. But just, you know, Trump coming back at this guy for posting fake news, that's not being a bully. So they need to, first of all, they need to understand what a bully really is. A bully really picks on somebody. He tries to torment, harass, demean, even physically. It's either verbal or physically. And as a parent or a guardian, you have to teach that child, whether it's a little girl or a little boy, how to deal with that. My boys did not get bullied, and they were not the bullies. But they did stand up to a few of them, and they did get in a few fights. But you teach them to walk away. Whenever possible, you just walk away. Their words cannot hurt you. And if that's not possible, if they start the fight, you end it. You end the fight, either by walking away or decking the guy, you know? I know. We're going to get calls, aren't we?
But you know what? Well, growing up, of course, I was from a small town. We didn't have bullies. No. I mean, sure, we might have made fun of, you know, someone, or, you know, which, you know, I can remember, you know, where kids would, you know, say somebody else had cooties and things like that, you know.
That's not being a bully. That's being a kid.
You know, and, you know, I mean, that was pretty much the extent of it. Maybe even going into, you know, junior high, and, you know, I don't recall stories where, you know, kids' faces were stuffed in toilets and things like that, you know. Maybe it changed with the next generation of kids. I don't know. But I think with society as a whole...
Well, they stopped disciplining children, for one thing.
They stopped disciplining. There's supposed to be a more tolerance and, you know, accepting. And you know, kids aren't being taught social skills anymore, and even how to, you know, address a situation if they're in one. And I think it goes along with the same thing with women. You know, women are being taught to be strong, that they can, you know, go out there and work hard, and they can achieve and advance just like a man, but they're not being taught how to deal with the social and the other things that come with it.
Not every comment or compliment is sexual harassment either.
Correct.
And so that goes along with the bullying. You've got to learn how to deal with it. We'll learn to... What was the Gambler song? Know when to walk away, know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know when to walk away. You got to know how to do that and when to do that. We're just about to go into a break, and I'll tell a story about one of my boys when he was dealing with a bully when he knew he was going to get beat up. And I'm going to tell that story when we come back, because I haven't got near enough time. But there is a way to deal with bullies, and let's just open that up. How do you deal with a bully, and what is true bullying? 717-300-1218 is the number to call, 717-300-1218. By the way, as we're going into the break, today, Melody, is National Ambrosia Day, National, you're going to love this one, Ding-a-ling Day, Gingerbread House Day, Poinsettia Day, and Hanukkah begins. Hanukkah begins. I'm thinking, what are they talking about? Anyway, I've lost it. I really have lost it.
Happy Ding-a-ling. Happy Ding-a-ling Day.
There you go. That's a ding-a-ling. Okay. 717-300-1218. That's 717-300-1218. How do you deal with a bully? And we will be right back.
Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net. Gold and silver is tremendously undervalued. global demand vastly exceeds mine supply by more than 60% annually, there is little in the financial world more certain than a coming explosion in the prices of gold and silver. The U.S. dollar continues to lose value and respect as the world's reserve currency. Our nation faces challenges on many fronts, and a day doesn't pass without another economist bringing forth warnings of impending economic calamity. There has never been a better time than right now to acquire physical gold and silver. Discount Gold and Silver Trading was founded on the principles of truth and honesty. We believe in providing a quality product, quality service, and most importantly, competitive pricing. We provide all forms of precious metals, including American gold, silver, platinum, and rare investment and circulated coins. Silver bars, rounds, and 90% silver bags are on hand for the silver investor. Gold self-directed IRAs are available. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free, that's 1-800-375-4188.
Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org. When it comes to prophecy today, much of the evangelical Christian world has their eyes on Israel, waiting and watching to see when the third temple will begin to be built. The plans are drawn. The Jewish people are eager. Most evangelical Christians today believe that the rapture will happen before the third temple is built. Hi, I'm Michael Yuji. I was taught that Daniel's 70th week was in the future. Is that really what the Bible teaches? Have we searched the Scriptures and found this to be true? Why is it so important for a reestablished Israel to build a third temple in Jerusalem? Is it necessary to build a temple on the same location already occupied by the Dome of the Rock? Is it necessary for sacrifices to take place in the temple on Temple Mount? Is there really a rapture followed by 7 years of tribulation? What is the New Testament temple? Can we identify history and prophecy? Who is the first beast in Revelation chapter 13? Who are the 7 kings in Revelation 17? I have asked all these questions, and I have found Nicholas Arthur's new book, When the Third Temple is Built, answers all these questions and more, using Scripture to interpret Scripture. The Bible says that no prophecy of Scripture is of any private interpretation. Nicholas shows us in his new book, When the Third Temple is Built, how the Bible interprets prophecy and not man's private interpretation. Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org.
Years ahead of the dominant media, FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net.
And we have returned. You're listening to Power Talks with Melody and Beth Ann in the morning. And before we go to the caller, hold on, just hang on. I'm going to tell my story about my son. Now, he was in junior high, and he's, my kids are really not that big. They are now, but they weren't that big when they were young. And he and his buddy were out playing, and this one guy that is a bully came up to his friend and was going to bully him. And so my son, and this is number 4 in the count, I have 5 of them, he comes up and he pushes the bully away, and his buddy runs. And he says, I knew if I did it, I was going to get beat up. I knew I was going to get whooped because this other kid was the bully, and he is bigger than him. He said, but I was going to take it. I was going to stand there, and I was going to take it. I wasn't going to back down. And just as this kid's getting ready to pounce on him, number 3 son, who's in high school and plays football, he's not a big kid, but he's fast and he's strong, and he's bigger than this kid. He hollers out and calls him out by name. He says, what are you doing? And, of course, that's all it took because the bully thought the big brother was going to come and get him. And he ran off. And my son that tells that story, he's number 4. He's my son that's a pastor. And he gets in the pulpit every now and then and tells that story about how the big brother saved the day and that we're supposed to be sticking up for one another and standing by one another. And, when there's a bully, you just don't take it. If you take it, they're going to keep bullying you because that's what they do. But normally if you stand up to a bully, they're going to back down. We're going to see what Lance does. Lance, how are you today? Did we lose Lance? Melody?
I don't know because
Okay.
No, I was just because I don't have access to Todd's comments, so.
Okay, well, I don't either. Well, I do, but he didn't comment. All right, we're going to have to wait on Lance until I figure out what's going on there. But anyway, to go back to the bullying, my opinion is that the parents need to teach the children how to deal with bullies, because you're not going to bullies are not going to go away. And so...
Well, the thing of it is, Beth, I mean, bullies are created by the parents.
That's true. Usually the parent is the bully.
Pardon?
Usually the parent's also a bully.
Yeah, I mean, and they're teaching their kids to, in some form, some manner, to have that type of behavior. I mean, the behavior is learned. So it's, on the other side, you have to teach your children to stand up to the bully. And oftentimes when you have that bully all by himself, just like you go through, you see various groups and gangs and so forth on a one-on-one basis, they're not, they're wimps.
They really are.
They're wimps, but they get their strength in numbers.
I had when I moved to where we are here in the country when I was a kid. I was a freshman in high school, and there was a girl in the school that didn't like me, and she kind of bullied me, and I finally stood up to her, and it stopped. She still didn't like me, but the bullying stopped. We're going to go to Sean in Ohio. Sean, how are you today?
Oh, not bad. I just am sick of the fake news of the stone throwers and glass houses, the fake news, corporate big business, CIA-infested military-industrial complex, war profiteer interlocked media accusing everybody except themselves of the fake news when they're the real culprit. And I think until we begin to understand some of the background to that there have been Senate and congressional committees in the 70s when there were a few honest congressmen among the minority, like Otis Pike and Frank Church, who investigated the CIA's control of the media, infestation of the media, even putting directors of the CIA under oath like William Colby. And they had to admit, because they knew there were people behind coming after them that were whistleblowers that would expose them as liars if they didn't tell the truth, and got them to admit that they had many hundreds of CIA propagandists posing as journalists, or even if they weren't directly paid, or official members were informal collaborators with the CIA in planting false disinformation against any country that the United States was attacking, subverting, sanctioning, overthrowing, bombing, invading, or preparing to do so. And so that's what we've been, I think all of our lives have been completely subjected to I would say a right-wing media. There is no left-wing media, liberal media in the United States. And some of the insiders have admitted that. Like William Kristol, one of the top neocon warmongers, is always interviewed on these Sunday Morning Gab Fest and all of the other public affairs stations. He was the leader of the Project for a New American Century that wrote, along with Rumsfeld and Cheney and Richard Pearl and others, that the United States had a golden opportunity with the demise of the Soviet Union to take over the world, and that the United States, according to this Project for a New American Century, would use that opportunity with no inhibition from a non-existent Soviet Union to overthrow every country in the world that disobeyed Washington or Wall Street. And this guy said, "I admit it." He admitted it one time. You can look this up, a quote. "I admit it, there is no liberal media. We just make that claim to work the referees in the media to take our side." So it's really a kind of a scam that they've conned people with. And the more they repeat it, they are then able to intimidate even halfway honest journalists to take their side. So when you get it from somebody like that, it's the horse's mouth. And when you get, for instance, the code name for the CIA's control of the media was called Operation Mockingbird. You can just look that up, CIA Operation Mockingbird. It was their code name for their control and infiltration and infestation of the media. really to brainwash people to attack the Soviet Union, China, Cuba, Nicaragua, any country that was trying to get some degree of independence out from under the thumb of the World Bank, the IMF, Wall Street banks, and Washington. And I think we've got to really question everything we've been told all these years, because it's coming back all over again with this Russiagate, this phony Russiagate frame-up to drag us back to that kind of intense McCarthyism on steroids, that if you bring any truth about any of these issues out, you will be pilloried and vilified as a Moscow stooge, a Putin puppet, and it's really ugly. And I think they're out to get Trump for what was an offhand comment where he said, "Well, I think we get along with Russia," and that violated the official brainwash propaganda religion that we've been subjected to for 100 years. And they're out to not only destroy him, but destroy the idea. Even if they get rid of him, they've got to destroy that idea, because there's $1,000 billion of war profits for the war profiteers every year to the military-industrial complex that really runs our Congress and our media. And they're going to, whether it's Fox or MSNBC, there's no difference. The bipartisanship of these warmongers are Democrat and Republican. The Democrats are not left or liberal. They're just as warmongering, and now more warmongering than the traditionally slightly more warmongering Republicans. You listen to that wretched Rachel Maddow on MSNBC, owned by a big military contractor, GE, and RCA, and they're absolutely Joe McCarthy on steroids, and it's incredible. Well,
all you got to do is follow the money, and when you follow the money, you kind of can tell what really dictates their opinions and their agendas, and we have been fed a line for a long time, and I think things are starting to get exposed a little bit more through some of this fake news being exposed, that we can see that they're going to do anything they can to sway your opinion one way or the other. I appreciate the call, Sean. Thank you.
Yeah, I think we got to really watch out, because they're going to drag us into nuclear war. And people that are high in even right-wing administrations like the Reagan administration, like Paul Craig Roberts, please look him up, Paul Craig Roberts, and William Blum, B-L-U-M, former State Department official, said the propaganda we're getting now is even worse than during the 50s, and it could lead us to war with all of the demonization of North Korea and Iran and everything else that the Democrats.
It's worse, and I don't think it's even as cleverly put together, because they just look like a bunch of fools with some of what they're putting out. So appreciate the call, Sean. Thank you so much for your information. We were talking about bullies, and I want to get back on that, because Sean Hannity had seen the video. The video, if you want to look at it, Melody told me she hadn't seen it yet. The video on this little boy being bullied went viral. His mother took a video, and she said that he asked her to do this. But because I was thinking that was kind of mean in and of itself, because sometimes that just encourages the bullying. But Sean Hannity he wanted to know the name of the school and the phone number, and he was going to give the principal and all them a call, and he was going to put an end to it. He was going to play the dad, in other words. My opinion was, where's the father? Because the father has to teach these boys and the girls how to deal with a bully. Because bullies exist, and if you let them run roughshod over you, they're going to continue to do that. When you stand up to them, you may even have to take a lick or two, but when you stand up to them, they're going to back down. And so that was my point with that, and so much is being called bullying today that I don't believe is bullying. So much is being called sexual harassment that I don't believe is true sexual harassment. And just like this person of the year that are these women that supposedly exposed, one was Judd that's stood up and gave the nasty woman speech, and that's the woman of the year. They've accomplished absolutely nothing in a positive way in this land, and they're deemed person of the year. And one of them was Megyn Kelly. I didn't even realize that. I kind of had my little brain mixed up when I was looking at who these women were. And how is she the woman of the year? How is that make them a person of the year? In my opinion, those women that got up there and talked about being and proud of being nasty women, they're they're a sort of a bully because they were bullying the others, and they didn't even want women that were pro-life to come to their rally. They finally let them, but they made them stand in the back. And to me, they kind of encouraged a lot of the rioting and that took place when you've got somebody standing up there saying, yes, and sometimes I want to blow up the White House. You know, promoting violence and filthy mouth and that kind of thing. Those are what I consider to be not a good part of society. They're not contributing to society to make things better. They're trying to make things worse. But anyway, that's just my opinion. We have Joe from Arkansas. Joe, how are you today?
Oh, I'm about 54% all right today. And how are you?
Well, I'm wishing you were 80% all right or 100% all right.
I wish too. Yeah, that would be better. I wanted to say something about this fellow Sean from Ohio that's been calling you quite a bit. And that's I have heard that same fellow call the Power Hour and Alex Jones many times using the name John from Ohio. So apparently he's calling you. So he's calling you under a different name than what he used to call other shows. And personally, yeah, I know there's nothing illegal about that. But personally, I think that shows a certain lack of integrity when somebody calls different shows using different names. And I think if a person is going to call talk radio the honest thing to do, the thing that shows the most integrity, is to use their real name. And that's what I've always done. So
I agree with that.
So, to my mind, when somebody does that, it gives me a certain mistrust for their integrity. As far as bullying goes, well, I have to admit that, I'm a real thin fellow. I weigh about 130 pounds, and I'm about 6 feet tall, and I'm not very strong. And I have to admit, I'm not all that good at dealing with bullies. But but in the last few times, whenever it's happened, what I've done is do my best to calmly go about whatever else I was doing and do my best to ignore them. And, I figure, well, if I'm not going to take the bait, I'm not going to deliberately try to get into a fight with this guy. If he attacks me, I'll do my best to fight back, and I'll probably lose, because, like I say, I'm not all that strong. But basically what I've done is just try calmly to go about doing whatever else I was doing and ignore the bully. And so far, when I've done that, they haven't decided, well, I'm going to go and attack him anyway. So.
The old saying, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. They're not taught that anymore. And, this little boy, they're making fun of his nose and everything else. I mean, you have to raise your children with confidence, that they are who they are because God made them the way they made them. And, just because some other kid thinks your nose looks funny doesn't mean your nose looks funny. You just have to ignore those things and walk away. We used to teach them the better man walks away. And there are times when you possibly can't always walk away, but the better man says nothing and walks away. You just can't let that stuff hurt you. You got to let it bounce off, and you've got to raise the kids to believe that, to understand who they are and have some confidence. And the kid that's bullying, if he's pouring milk on the kid's head there in the cafeteria, somebody has to be seeing that.
Yeah, well, I feel like the best thing is if you are bullied, if you can beat up the bully, that's so that he's going to stop bullying, so that he really learns his lesson not to do that. That's the best thing. But like I say, I'm not a very strong fellow. I don't feel like I'm, very capable of doing that in most of the cases where I've been bullied. So anyway, I've told you what I have done.
All right,
and,
thank you.
And in many cases, it has worked fairly well.
All right. Appreciate it, Joe. Walking away is usually the better deal is to walk away. It doesn't matter whether you're big or little. I wasn't very big. Usually just walking away is the better thing because if they know they're getting to you, they're going to keep it up. And if they think it's not bothering you, they're going to quit. It's wasting their time. So let's move on. We've talked about bullies here quite a bit. Oh, Melody, I have to tell you something I saw. Oh, where did I just put that? We've talked about here it is. We've talked about the Bitcoin. Well, somebody sent me this, and I'm not going to say who. It's somebody trying to sell something, and they're talking about a cloud coin. cloud coin is not a cryptocurrency. It's the world's first cloud currency. Have you heard anything about that?
You know, just give them time enough, and they'll come up with something.
Cloud coin.
Good
cloud
grief.
coin. And I guess, I don't know, I guess because the Bitcoin's doing well, we're going to make up a cloud coin. It's probably really light and flies away, don't you think?
Very fluffy, and it's true. You can just blow it away, and you're right. It's going to fly away. It's going to go from your wallet to the cloud currency, and it'll fly away. But, and it's funny. There's been a lot of talks. The first time I turned on the news yesterday, I talked about this in the program yesterday afternoon, financial survival, and you hear these stories. The first stories turning on the news yesterday was, people are selling their gold to buy cryptos and so forth and whatnot. And,
oh, my.
And I just don't believe it. I don't believe that. I mean, there might be one or two that are doing it, but they'd really be foolish and not very smart. And usually when you sell something, it's one thing to sell an investment to reinvest it in something else, but you have to look at the fundamentals before you do that. And people are just getting so caught up in this, the sky's going to, never going to fall on Bitcoin, and I just don't, it will correct. And it's, what a great way to have your funds confiscated and you're hacked and someone pulls the power plug from the main computer. It's just crazy, and we're really living in crazy, just not dangerous times, interesting times, and so. But it's crazy. It's
so
crazy.
We have an EMP attack. What's that going to do to the Bitcoin or the cloud coin?
I saw a report this morning where there's an artificial intelligence machine, an AI machine,
yes,
that can identify 2 billion people in seconds. Yit2 technology has made an AI algorithm that can connect to millions of surveillance cameras and instantly recognize people. This company is based in Shanghai, and it was actually developed by Dragonfly Eye to scan through the millions of photographs that have been logged into the country's national database. This means it has a collection of 1.8 billion photos on file, including even the visitors to the country and those taken at ports and airports. It can also have access to photos of every one of Hong Kong's identity card holders, although this one company, Yit2, has refused to confirm this. And they're using this technology to track down criminals, and of course that's how they always say it. We're there to track down those criminals to keep you safe. But and even the early stages of this is showing that it has been successful. And it really is scary when you think that they can recognize at least, and this is just in the beginning stages of the ability of this computer, this AI, to identify 2 billion people in a matter of seconds. And you would think that just a couple of years ago, who would ever think billions of people in just a matter of seconds? But there used to be a program on television, and it's like almost this is exactly what it did. What was the name of that program? Of course, it just slipped my mind. But it was about how these computers were how one main computer could read all the other computers in the world and identify
Matrix?
people.
Is that what you're talking about?
No,
Matrix?
it wasn't Matrix. It was a 1-hour program. I don't remember which network it was. Person of Interest was what it was called.
Oh, yes, I liked that.
Yeah, it was a good
show.
Yeah, it was a good program. But here, this computer is confirming almost what that program was all about. About the mainframe computer being able to be everywhere. And it is a scary and frightening world, and yet we go on our normal lives and we don't realize where we go, pictures that are taken. It's just very scary. Just very scary. And how do you protect your freedoms and your liberties in a world that is ruled by artificial intelligence? And when you have the younger generation growing up into a world well, they're going to have to make a decision. And I'm not so sure if them growing up into a world of technology that their decisions will be, one that we would recognize maybe 50 years from now. So, kind of interesting, but it's, where is the world headed? I mean, where is this country headed? The Constitution. How does who protects that Constitution against technology, against artificial intelligence?
That's a good question. Good question. It's
and I know it's we the people.
We the people. We're always the answer. We the people are the answer.
But we the people, the youth that is being brought into this world of technology, what will they choose? Will they continue to be we the people? It's just too much thought for a Tuesday morning.
I was going to say, a little deep for me.
If you can write the future and predict the future, and if you want to look 50 years from now, and if they are truly as advanced as they say they are with these artificial intelligence, Stephen Hawking says, hey, artificial intelligence is going to, it's going to eliminate society. It's going to collapse of society. So,
well, look where the computers have come just in our lifetime. I believe it was in 1957 when they were loading that first computer up, and they needed a forklift to put it on the plane.
Yeah. To
load it up, and now we've got them in these little iPhones. You've got a little phone here that can do more than that great big massive computer that they put on, they had to pick up with a forklift. So you could just see how far we've come these days with the artificial intelligence. It's still a machine. You got to put the data in.
Correct.
The data has to be put in,
and
you still can't unplug it.
For now. There was an article where an AI machine created a computer.
Oh. Well, you can still unplug them. All right, batteries go dead. We're going into a break. Your calls are welcome at 717-300-1218, 717-300-1218, and we will be right back.
Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net. Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed. It has been purchased. It has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity. Invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host Melody Cedarstrom right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free 1-800-375-4188. The program you are listening to is 100% sponsored by you, the listener, on this First Amendment Rights Media channel. You will notice that there are few commercials on this radio network. There's a good reason for that. Corporate advertising dollars come with strings that limit program content. So without your help, these programs cannot continue on Internet or our several affiliates. If you benefit by the educational law programs, we ask you to give. If you are admonished or nurtured by the Bible and ministry programs, we ask you to give. If some voice a cause that you are passionate about, we ask you to give. If you believe in any of these, we ask you to support them as you would a missionary on a continual basis, as if giving a tithe for missionary radio. These programs are not commercially viable and must be supported by those faithful to the cause of truth. Look for the button to sponsor your favorite programs at our listen and schedule pages on the Internet. Then, when you subscribe, we will send you the last quarterly MP3 CD of that program immediately, and continue to do so with each new quarter. We will also give you unlimited archive access to all of our programs. We're asking you to give much less than a tithe, so that you may also send support directly to a particular program host, cause, and anywhere else the Spirit may lead you. Do all to the glory of our God and Creator, for His holy nation, the only kingdom that will last forever. Thank you for listening. Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net.
Silver bells hanging on a string. She told me
we
it
have
was
returned.
my ding-a-ling-a-ling.
There it is. National Ding-a-Ling Day. Thank you, Todd, our producer. I knew he'd get it done before the show was over. It's also Poinsettia Day, so you can send me a poinsettia if you wanted to, Todd. I'd be okay with that. Oh, gracious. You got to love it. It's all good when everybody comes together. Thank you, Todd. That's a great chuckle. You know, I have something that's kind of a warm, fuzzy story, if you don't mind if I share that.
Not at all.
All right. Well, this is what you're going to see when you go into the White House. Of course, you know they have the White House tours, and they have it all fixed up for Christmas right now. It says, after entering the White House through the eastern entrance, guests are welcomed by greeters and handed a brochure about the various displays within the home. However, before going any further, the attendant will bring your attention to a specific tree that sits at the top of the stairway, better known as the Gold Star Tree. The Gold Star Tree honors the families of fallen American service members. It is covered in patriotic ribbon and golden stars with a large gold star on top. The tree also honors active duty service members in a very special way. The tree includes 4 iPad stations. We're talking about computers. 4 iPad stations where visitors may write messages to active duty service members for the holidays. These messages will then be sent to troops serving abroad who will not be able to be home for Christmas. And in the East Wing, visitors find a tribute to our service members and their families with the Gold Star family tree, which has been decorated with, again, it says, with all the, it repeated itself. I don't know why the article repeated itself. But anyway, I thought that was kind of neat. So it's been there before. It's not the first time they've had a tree that honors the White House. But this time, the bold up front attempt to honor and encourage that is new. So they've got the iPad set up there, and you can send a message to these servicemen that are active duty right now that aren't going to be able to be home for Christmas. I thought that was kind of neat. So computers can do good things, too. You're not hearing that in the news. You're not hearing that.
No, not at all. That's a very nice story. I did hear about that tree, but I didn't really go into read the details of it, so thank you for bringing that.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Did you know about the bomber yesterday? You brought that to our attention. I hadn't heard it yet. Did you know that the family is upset with the police and how they handled it? The family of the bomber, the alleged Port Authority terrorist, his family is outraged by the police behavior. We are heartbroken by the violence that was targeted at our city today and by the allegations being made against a member of our family. But we are also outraged, I don't know where this is coming from, we are also outraged by the behavior of law enforcement officials who have held children as small as 4 years old out in the cold, who held a teenager out of high school classes to interrogate him without a lawyer, without his parents, and the family said, these are not the sorts of actions that we expect from our justice system, and we have every confidence that our justice system will find the truth behind this attack, and that we will, in the end, be able to learn what occurred today. I guess they're going back to when some of these other attacks happened. I don't know, but and I'm trying to figure out why. I know they always say the word alleged. The guy had the bomb around his body. Why? He confessed. He confessed and said, "I did it."
I know. Good grief.
Anyway, but I guess the police were bullying. They were bullying people.
Sign of bullying. Yes.
Yeah. After I posted that on the show's Facebook page, and I said, "You're welcome from the men in blue for saving your lives." It's like, seriously. Oh well. Anyway, what's going on in the world of gold and silver this week? Anything in particular happening?
Well, we still have a little bit of pressure. You have Janet Yellen making a rate decision this week, on whether they will raise it a quarter point or not, and everyone is pretty much expecting it, but you still have a little pressure in gold, as everybody thinks that, as the rates rise, gold will go down, but dollar will get stronger. But it usually is just a build-up to the day, maybe a knee-jerk reaction shortly thereafter, and then gold will seem to get back on its path. I mean, no one is talking about the spending bill. No one's talking about the debt ceiling. You've heard very little about the tax reform anymore. So, I've seen there was a few blurbs where they're having a little more difficulties on the tax reform bill and so forth. So it's just like everything is fine. The only thing that they can get out of the news, and I'm thankful that once today is over, is the Alabama election. And it's,
will that affect the gold and silver market?
It shouldn't. No,
okay.
It shouldn't. But I think that, Janet Yellen and so forth, and then maybe the budget will get back into the news, the tax reform will get back into the news, and so forth. Discussions, anyway, of it. But, we've heard very little about them, really, considering the amount of importance that they play. There have been discussions of the $1 trillion infrastructure that once the tax reform gets done, probably the first of next year, they'll start start creating and opening the doors to that, the $1 trillion spending. So, folks, those of us who pay taxes, get out there and you have to work a little bit harder so you can pay a little bit more taxes, bring on more extra hours, maybe go get a part-time job to pay for government spending. So, just your team. Not only is your health care going up 120%, I know. Oh, I'm sorry, you have to get a third job to pay for health care and, the increased spending coming from Washington. But
yeah, so, you'd think if they're going to make us keep working, they'd at least add some hours to our day.
Yeah.
Have they got the power to do that, to add a few more hours to the day?
Well, Obama took hours away because when he was forcing these corporations to pay health insurance for full-time employees, they would just drop back the hours, and then Obama would lower the hours to equal for the full work week, and until basically people are now working 34 hours, 33 hours, something like that for a full work week, but.
That's why they needed the minimum wage raised, because they were taking away the hours.
I know, yeah. So, I mean, it's there isn't anything that makes sense, and so I'm still optimistic. I think it'll be a good year for gold next year. I think we're going to see the government's inflation numbers, even though my personal inflation numbers that I believe are much higher than what government tells us. They've been lying about inflation for years and years, but I think you'll see a little more crop in, and I think you're going to see a lot more difficulties here and around the world. The holidays come, and they just sort of make it becomes quiet in December, so we'll see how the rest of this year plays out, but I think next year, if you thought this year was chaotic, wait till next year. Next year will outdo this year for
because of the elections. Do you think, or why? Why are you saying that? Just because of the chaos in the finances?
Well, just like this year, every situation was taken out of a lot of it was taken out of context. There was just with the media reporting, with the reporting of fake news, with just what we've seen this year is going to be double next year. because I think a lot of these things, and the elections and everything else. So.
Well, and I will just have people know that Melody predicted the chaos when she was on CSC Talk Radio earlier this year. Or last year before the election. I can't believe where we are. She predicted this chaos, and so if she says it's going to double, I guess we better listen to her.
Yeah, it's going to be worse. But
active is what you called it. Active.
Active.
You said it was going to get active.
Yes, and this will be double active. Double your pleasure with active. No, I really do see it because
double the chaos.
Double the activity. So volatile. It's going to be a very volatile year next year. So get prepared, folks, ladies and gentlemen. If you haven't, give us a call at 1-800-375-4188. And if you want your gold and silver portfolios reviewed, we'd be more than happy to do that. And if there's any tweaking that needs to be done, we can do that. I'm not, I don't give, I can't finish my statement. I hear music.
No, you can finish your statement if you hurry.
Oh, okay. 1-800-375-4188. We got great prices on gold and silver. And again, supporting Discount Gold and Silver supports many, many other programs that you listen to on a daily basis.
Yes, and we appreciate that, Melody. And we are out of time, and the music is playing, and we will be back tomorrow with another Good Morning.
Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org. When it comes to prophecy today, much of the evangelical Christian world has their eyes on Israel, waiting and watching to see when the third temple will begin to be built. The plans are drawn. The Jewish people are eager. Most evangelical Christians today believe that the rapture will happen before the third temple is built. Hi, I'm Michael Eugene. I was taught that Daniel's 70th week was in the future. Is that really what the Bible teaches? Have we searched the Scriptures and found this to be true? Why is it so important for a re-established Israel to build a third temple in Jerusalem? Is it necessary to build a temple on the same location already occupied by the Dome of the Rock? Is it necessary for sacrifices to take place in the temple on Temple Mount? Is there really a rapture followed by 7 years of tribulation? What is the New Testament temple? Can we identify history and prophecy? Who is the first beast in Revelation chapter 13? Who are the 7 kings in Revelation 17? I have asked all these questions, and I have found Nicholas Arthur's new book, When the Third Temple is Built, answers all these questions and more using Scripture to interpret Scripture. The Bible says that no prophecy of Scripture is of any private interpretation. Nicholas shows us in his new book, When the Third Temple is Built, how the Bible interprets prophecy and not man's private interpretation. Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org.
The book of Revelation says, the spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Jesus Christ. This is at the very heart of FirstAmendmentRadio.com. In that spirit, we have created the Prophecy Reality News app for all of your mobile devices, streaming First Amendment Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Available for your Apple, Android device, and smartphone, absolutely free. Get the Prophecy Reality News app installed today so you can listen to First Amendment Radio wherever you are. The Prophecy Reality News app. Get it now.
Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity. Invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host Melody Cedarstrom right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern, or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free 1-800-375-4188.